25 Players Championship. This is one of my favorite events on the PGA Tour calendar year in and year out because this is one of my favorite courses on the PGA Tour rotation year in and year out. And this is one of the biggest events on the PGA Tour calendar year in and year out. Most would refer to it as the fifth major, which to me is kind of an insult. Maybe insult's the wrong word, but like there are only four majors. So like if this is the fifth major, then what's the sixth major and the seventh major and so on. But anyway, this is a great golf tournament with a great field, and we are going to do our patented breakdown in 30 minutes or less with everything you need to know about this year's Players Championship. We are going to talk about TPC Sawgrass, the course itself. We are going to look at the data and see if we can kind of find some guys that might stand out and might do well here. And then we are going to take a look at the board and tell you how you should be approaching DFS, betting, and player props and one and done here this week at the Players Championship. If you are new to the channel this week, you know the Players Championship's a big week for golf. If you're new to the channel, glad to have you. Make sure you subscribe. That we can be with us for the rest of the PGA Tour golf season, as well as all of our college basketball content that is going to be coming out almost on a daily basis from now until the end of the college basketball season. If you are any interested in playing college basketball, DFS, betting, bracket picks, whatever for college basketball, we got you covered on that as well. So make sure you go ahead and subscribe to the channel, and you can be with us here for that. But anyway, let's go ahead and end the introduction there. As always, if this video helps you out in any way, please hit the like button. It helps me out a ton when you guys do that. And I cannot stress enough how much that is helpful to me when you do. But let's go ahead and let's start talking about the course. So TPC Sawgrass is in Ponte Vedra Beach, Florida, which is, I have been told, North Florida geographically. It's been the home of the Players Championship for about 50 years now. Well, not 50, about a little over 40 years now. It is not a long golf course. It is a par 72. It is about 7,350 yards this year. It is being lengthened a little bit. You know, they've had a few tee boxes move back, so they did lengthen it a little bit. But it still is something I would consider of a short golf course that any golfer in the field, no matter how long they hit the ball off the tee, can compete at because of the different challenges that it proposes. This is a golf course that was designed to create golf shots of high leverage every single time you hit the golf ball. And what I mean by that is there are so many waters, so many bunkers, so many trees, so many hazards, so many places you don't want to end up that every shot has the chance to make or break your entire golf tournament. There are bogeys and double bogeys lurking everywhere here at this course. It's why this course has such a volatile course history for every golfer, because if you have one of those bad shots on Thursday or Friday, well, sayonara, you're going to be missing the cut and you're going to be heading home early. Now, in terms of scoring here, you are going to want to do your scoring on the par fives. They can be very gettable, but you know, they're not the easiest set of par fives in the world. You're not just going to see guys bombing it away in two. There's still hazards. You're still going to have to be very controlled with a long iron or very smart about how you lay up and attack if you want to get this shot. And if you want to score, birdies are better on these par fives. Now, this is also a Pete Dye design, which is, there's a lot of trademarks of Pete Dye designs. He generally puts in a lot of dog legs. He generally messes with sight lines, especially off the tee, in terms of making you think that holes are wider than they are or making you think that holes are narrower than they are. There's a Pete Dye design near me that I've played quite a bit, and personally, I love it, but it's definitely a little bit of an acquired taste. It's why you see guys who play well other Pete Dye courses play well here. Generally speaking, if you play towards trouble off the tee, it gives you a better angle on shot two. Pete Dye is not a guy that really asks you to have a whole lot of strategic decisions in your golf shots. He just asks you to step up and execute high leverage golf shots, shot in and shot out. Now, also, if you, more than anything this week, this is going to be a golf tournament that is won on approach, right? This is a difficult golf course to get up and down. If you are missing greens, you are going to have a time getting up and down. There are a lot of kind of hazards near greens, and I don't necessarily just mean water. There's a lot of bunkering. There's a lot of hollows and what are known as chocolate drops, which are just kind of like these little mounds of grass around the green. And so you end up with a lot of awkward lies, awkward stances, awkward positions if you miss these greens. And these greens are very small and tough to hit. So iron play more so than anything is going to be the name of the game this week. And the greens themselves, we already mentioned they are quite small. With this tournament being in North Florida in the month of March, these are Bermuda grass greens, but they have a Poa trivialis overseat. I am no agronomy expert. I will not be claim to be an agronomy expert, but I've done some research. I know enough to say this. The POA overseed makes the grass super smooth, makes it carpety, and it is not similar to putting on grainy Bermuda. It is very much similar to putting at other courses that have the POA overseed, like TPC Scottsdale, like TPC San Antonio, like Harbortown. Basically, other Bermuda courses that are played early in the year where the Bermuda is not active yet. That is what you're going to see in what you can compare this course to. Which, by the way, this tournament was moved to March in 2019. So I would not be looking at data from Players Championships before 2019 when it was played in May. It just played a little bit differently. They did not have the POA overseed in May. The rough played a little bit differently. The fairways played a little bit differently because how the Bermuda interacts with the climate. And so I would not look at any players' data from before 2019. Also, there's a super random fact about tee times this week. 15 of the last 17 winners have come from the AM PM wave of golfers on Thursday and Friday. That's truly an oddity to me. It seems kind of random, but like that's enough data to make me think like, dang, like maybe there is something to that. But when you're looking at data this week, like I said, course history is super volatile because of the way the course generally plays. So this week, I'm going to be looking more at comp courses. And I think that this course, being what it is, with it being kind of an older course, you can kind of look at a different amalgamation of golf courses to kind of get your Frankenstein of a comp, right? Like this course does have similarities and traits to other Florida golf courses that have a lot of water and a lot of trees and just generally quite similar in traits to Bay Hill and PGA National. It also is quite similar to other TPC courses because every other TPC course is designed to emulate this one with high leverage golf shots down the stretch of every tournament. It's also quite similar to other Pete Dye courses, just with what he does with his design traits. And I would also add in some other tee to green tests, courses that, are not necessarily the longest, but courses that will make you use every club in your bag, will make you, kind of test every single part of your game. Muirfield Village and TPC Southwind come to mind for this. Muirfield Village, a little bit on the longer side, but another course that's going to make you use your entire golf game. And then you see a lot of crossover success with golfers who have played well here and at Sedgefield, ironically. It's kind of another shorter golf course. It's designed by Donald Ross, not Pete Dye, but it's kind of Pete Dye adjacent. It's a shorter positional golf course where we've seen Webb Simpson, Siwoo Kim, Henrik Stenson win, and we have seen them all win here at the Players as well. Another thing, since the Players has moved to 2019, we've really only seen big boys win here. In 2021, it was Justin Thomas. 2019 was Rory McIlroy. 2022, Cam Smith. And then 2023, 2024, Scotty Scheffler. He has been the only defending champ to go back-to-back. Therefore, he would be the first ever to three-peat a golf tournament, and it would be the first on the PGA Tour since Steve Stricker did it with the John Deere Classic. Now, recent form at this golf course is super important. That is going to be also something I'm prioritized. This is not a get right spot. This is a you better come correct and you better have your game and you better bring it, because as you can see if you're watching on YouTube, that 17th hole, the most iconic hole in this course, one of the most iconic holes in all of golf. If you don't bring it and step up to that tee and execute with a good shot, you're not going to be hitting that green. You're going to be taking a drop. And there's a lot of holes at this course that are like that, even though none are as iconic as that one, where you've got to bring your A game and you've got to have it. And if you don't have it, then this is not a place where you're likely to find it. All right, now let's go ahead and take a look at my key stats for this week. So my key stats for this week, it's pretty straightforward, y'all. Recent strokes gained off the tee, recent strokes gained on approach, recent strokes gained around the green. You're going to have to use all components of your game. I do think the par 5 is important. I'm not going to prioritize course history that much this week. I am going to prioritize recent form and the comps. And the comps, like we talked about, Florida courses, TPC courses, Pete Dye courses, other tee to green tests. All right, so let's go ahead now that we've talked about TPC Sawgrass. Let's go ahead and dive down the rabbit hole. Now, if you have been with us for a while, you know that when I talk about the rabbit hole, I'm not referring to an actual literal rabbit hole. I'm referring to the rabbit hole, which is a tool from BetSperts Golf that allows you to use all different kinds of filters and conditions on your data to really isolate the micro skills that you want to use in order to find the best golfers for a given week on the PGA Tour. And it allows you to put those into a custom model to really allow you to find who you want to bet on or pick in DFS this week. So we're going to talk about the stats that I picked for the rabbit hole this week and who the top guys in the field are. So first thing, recent strokes gained ball strike, and that is a super priority this week. Best in the field, top 10 in super recent ball striking. Doug Yim, Colin Morikawa, Taylor Pendrith, Joel Damon, Scotty Scheffler, Seb Straka, Tommy Fleetwood, Rico Hoey, Robert McIntyre, and Justin Thomas. I also want to prioritize long-term approach form. Just generally, are you a good iron player on the PGA Tour? Justin Thomas, Lucas Glover, Seb Straka, Nick Taylor, Joel Damon, Jackson Suber, Doug Gim, Henrik Norlander, JJ Spawn, Kurt Kitayama, top 10 in that category. Did the same thing with around the green play, just long-term around the green. Can you get up and down when you need to get up and down? Top 10 in that, Peter Malnati, Hideki Matsuyama, Andrew Novak, Minwoo Lee, Brian Campbell, Davis Thompson, Bo Hostler, Christian Bezadenhout, Andrew Putnam, and Sung J M. Interestingly enough, Hideki, Putnam, Poston, Thomas, and Henley are the only guys that are top 25 in both approach and around the green long term. Distance from edge of fairway is another stat that I wanted to use this week. Basically, it measures when you miss the fairway, how far do you miss it? Because this week, you're going to see guys pull all different kinds of club off the tee. With it being a short golf course, there are different pathways to success. You can throttle it back a little bit off the tee and sacrifice distance for accuracy. You can be more aggressive and try to get better shots into greens. Like, it's really kind of a play it your way kind of thing. But either way, you cannot have the big miss off the tee because you're going to be dropping and hitting three, or you're going to be in the trees and having trouble getting out. So the best guys in distance of edge of fairway in this field: Tom Kim, Ben Coles, Russell Henley, Aaron Rye, Christian Bezadenhout is the top 5. Now, I also wanted to look at general strokes gained off the tee on courses with high water danger, because this will kind of show you who is able to execute that strategy decision on similar courses. Best in the field in that: Scotty Scheffler, Ludwig Oberg, Wyndham Clark, Rico Hoey, and Xander Schauffele as the top 5. Then I wanted to look at strokes gained approach on courses that have small greens. Best in the field in that category: Scotty Scheffler, no surprise, Justin Thomas, Tony Finau, Xander Schauffele, and Joel Damon as your top 5. I also wanted to look at strokes gained approach on courses where it is difficult for approach play. Other courses where, it's the green regulation percentage is not all that high, where it is going to be high leverage shots with your irons. Who are the best in the field at that? Scotty Scheffler, Shane Lowry, Joel Damon, Tom Hoge, and Kevin Yu as the top 5. Then I wanted to look at strokes gained putting on just the overseeded POA grass. Look, I'm not prioritizing putting this week because you've seen a lot of guys with poor putting win this golf tournament, but I do think that being able to putt on this grass type is a beneficial skill. So the best in the field on this surface are Sam Ryder, Christian Bezadenhout, Thomas Dietrich, Denny McCarthy, Adam Scott, Xander Schauffele, Maverick McNeely, Nick Taylor, Wyndham Clark, and Matthew Fitzpatrick. Then when you start looking at different courses, right, we talked about all my comps. Florida courses, the first group: Scheffler, Connors, Lowry, Fitzpatrick, Hovland. When you look at TPC courses, the next little group: Scheffler, Schauffele, Matsuyama, Thomas, Berger. When you look at Pete Dye courses, who comes up near the top? First two names shouldn't surprise you: Scheffler, Schauffele, Thomas, Cantlay, Harmon. And then when you look at that other list of secondary comps, and I included TPC Sawgrass in this one, the best golfers in the field at those comp courses: Scheffler, Schauffele, Thomas, Morikawa, Berger as the top 5, Matsuyama, Hovland, Fitzpatrick, Cantlay, Lowry rounding out your top 10. So when you throw all that in a model, what you get this week should come as zero surprise as to who came out on top of my model. The one, the only, Scott Scheffler, a.k.a. Scotty Scheffler. I wish I knew his middle name. I would have made it more dramatic there. Anyway, Scotty Scheffler is the number 1 golfer this week. Should come as no surprise. He's a 2-time defending champ. When you look at the skill set that is required to win here, which is primarily approach play, he's the best approach player on the planet. Like, I know the recent stats might not necessarily back that up. I know that he's got some rounds, in the ether that are not the best, but like, when you look at the holistic bucket of what he's done in the last year, he's the best approach player on the planet. This is a course that allows you to separate with your approach play. This is a course that allows you to separate with accuracy off the tee. He is quite accurate with his driver off the tee. He does not have to throttle back. And he's a great around the green player. Like, he just literally checks off all the boxes. If you were to go design a golf course tomorrow for Scotty Scheffler, this would be a great one. And one thing I think that's underrated about him, there's no way to quantify this, but Scotty Scheffler, when he plays a golf course like this, where it is very much, there's a very clear pathway of how to win here. He's so smart about where he plays his shots to and where he misses shots, and just how he thinks about his golf game. He's so smart that he just never seems to have any big blunders at this golf course. It's why he's won it back to back years. It's just a perfect spot for him, and really it's hard to convince me. The only thing that convinces me that he might not win this week is the fact that no one's ever won this place twice in a row, and he's done it. And no one's certainly ever won it 3 times in a row, and no one ever wins the same event 3 times in a row on the PGA Tour. So that would be the only thing going against him. But he's the betting favorite for a reason. His dominance does encourage me to, if I'm making outright bets this week, place it in the each way market, because then if Scotty Scheffler runs away with it and your guy comes in second, you're not going to feel so bad when you lose to Scheffler. But I've mentioned in the past, I generally don't bet golfers outright to win a golf tournament at 5-1, which is what he's going to be this week. If you wanted to get super into it, like maybe you could parlay Scotty Scheffler to win with like Maryland to win the Big Ten tournament or something like that. Like I like a college basketball game or an NBA game or something. Give yourself a little bit of juice on it. But yeah, that's what we're looking at this week when it comes to Scotty Scheffler. Now, second in my model, Justin Thomas. Let's talk about why that is. Justin Thomas is kind of back. And what I mean by that is he's starting to have a statistical profile like vintage Justin Thomas. What I mean by vintage Justin Thomas, what he was doing back when he won this event, back when he was winning majors, back when he was one of the top golfers in the world. And how he's doing it is he's turning back into one of the world's best approach players. He's been elite on approach this calendar year. The only tournament that he lost strokes on approach was at the Pebble Beach Pro-Am, and that was very minimally. And he's also turned back into a good around the green player. He is not a good putter of the golf ball, but this is a course where that tends to be minimized a little bit. And you look at the Waste Management Phoenix Open, a course that has the same grass type, T6 there, and he was a positive putter, 2 strokes for the tournament. So I think that this is a great spot for Justin Thomas. I think of the next tier of golfer, I think that Justin Thomas would be my guy that I would be rolling with on DraftKings this week, and would be a guy that I would consider betting outright this week. Russell Henley comes in at number 3, and look, I gotta say, I think this is a natural fade spot off Russell Henley. I think this is a great course for him, but like coming off the biggest win of his PGA Tour career, is that really a spot we want to chase? I mean, yes, the recent form is great, but like, I just don't have any faith that he's going to be able to, not rest on his laurels a little bit and be content with the victory and just kind of, I just don't trust that he's going to come back with the same hunger and intensity that he had prior to that win. And so to me, that makes him an easy fade candidate for me, even though the course does look like it's going to shape up really well for him. Number 4 in my model, Sepp Straka. I love Sepp Straka this week. I do. You look at what this course asks you to do. It's approach play. It's accurate driving. That is what he does. And approach play this calendar year, with the exception of the Genesis, where he just got totally obliterated, he's gained over 1 stroke per round on approach every single tournament this year. That's just incredible. And he's coming in off back-to-back top 11 finishes, both in the Florida swing. I really do have faith that he's going to bring a good performance this week. Sepp Straka is going to be one of my guys this week in all likelihood. 5th in my model, Xander Schauffele. I think this is a good spot to go to Xander, because I think that this course sets up really well for him. I think the only nit you can pick with Xander is the fact that he has only played 2 events this calendar year, the Century and the Arnold Palmer Invitational. But I mean, at the Arnold Palmer Invitational, he was horrible around the green, but every other facet of his game was kind of cooking. So I think that this is a good buy low spot on Xander. I think if you're playing DFS, I think he's a super contrarian play, as opposed to Scotty Scheffler, and I think that it makes a lot of sense. Brian Harman comes in at number 6 in my model. So let's talk about why. He was great at this tournament last year. He almost won this tournament last year. He was in that group that was kind of contending with Scotty Scheffler as the Sunday went on. But you look at his recent finishes, they've been okay, but it's approach play that's really carried him. And he generally, over long term, is a good around the green player and a good putter. So I have faith in Harman, a course that is designed to test accuracy, not distance off the tee, which is what he's known for. If he continues his recent approach play, I think this is a pretty good spot for him. I think he's a really solid value in DFS. Probably not a guy I would bet outright to win the golf tournament, though. So Doug Ghim comes in at number 7 in my model, which is super interesting to me because he's super low on the board, but like, the approach play is there, y'all. If we're going on here and saying that we're valuing nothing more than approach play, well, then we got to take a look at Doug Ghim, because the approach play has been tremendous since the calendar year turned. And also, when you talk about Doug Yim, he actually has pretty good event history here. Sorry, I was typing in the course name, not the tournament name. Yeah, in his 4 tries, he's missed the cut once, but his other finishes 6th, 16th, and 29th. So really good history at this event for Doug Yim. Why? Because it places an importance on approach play, and that is by far the best facet of his game. So I really do like him as value in DFS. I'm a little concerned that he showed up at number 7 in my model, but I really do like him on DFS. Colin Morikawa recently lost out at the Arnold Palmer Invitational to Russell Henley, but this course should be perfect for Morikawa. It values accuracy over distance. It values approach play with all different clubs in the bag. And it's a course where putting is minimized. That's all boxes that it should check for Colin Morikawa. The downside is that he does not have exceptional history here. He's never finished better than 13th, 1 missed cut in 4 tries, 2 other finishes, 41st and 45th. It's not great. It's not great, but I do think that this course should suit his game pretty well. So I think it's only a matter of time before he does play well. I would personally rather play Justin Thomas in DFS, rather bet Justin Thomas outright, but I totally get it with Morikawa. Cantlay, number 9, is an interesting one. So his 2025 has been sneaky good. He just hasn't won. 15th at the Century, 5th at the American Express, 33rd at Pebble, 5th at the Genesis, 31st at the Arnold Palmer Invitational. The one cause for concern about Cantlay is he's kind of playing whack-a-mole. And what I mean by that is when you look at his profile, which I'm doing right now, he tends to have one stat category that is negative on a given week, fixes it the next week, and then another one pops up. Fixes that the next week, and then another one pops up. Fixes that the next week, and then another one pops up, right? He just can't get it all right in the same week. But if he does, this could be the type of tournament that I could see Patrick Cantlay winning. It really is. Number 10 in my model is Daniel Berger. That's based off of his recent form. Look, I think he's going to be super popular in DFS. I think he makes a little bit of sense to fade, if I'm being honest. But hey, I didn't think he was going to do all that great at the Arnold Palmer Invitational, and he came in T15. He's great in the Florida Swing. He's great at Pete Dye courses. I kind of get it. It's a super good stat profile. I'm just worried about how popular he's going to be in DFS, which is, not a bad problem to have. 11 and 12 in my model are 2 guys, and 13 are honestly guys that I like a lot, so I will go out of my way to mention them. Tommy Fleetwood, Shane Lowry, Hideki Matsuyama. So I've mentioned on here before that I never play Tommy Fleetwood, never bet Tommy Fleetwood because he never wins. This stat line is really, really promising. The only negatives he's had in the last 2 months have been super small negatives, and they have not been in the ball striking categories. He's gained off the tee and on approach in every single tournament that he's played in 2025. That's not easy. And the around the green play has been a little hit or miss. The putter's been a little hit or miss, but he's generally pretty good at those long term. I like him at courses like this where he can play kind of conservative golf, which is what he does. I think this is a good spot for Fleetwood. This is a week where I will actually be on him. I love Shane Lowry this week. And the thing that I really love about Shane Lowry this week is that nobody's talking about Shane Lowry this week. I think that we might get an ownership discount in DFS. The number in terms of betting him outright is going to be pretty reasonable. But you look at what Lowry does. He's generally a pretty good driver of the golf ball. In his last 2 tournaments, he's just barely lost strokes off the tee, but he's been elite on approach, elite off the green, and was even good with the putter at the Arnold Palmer Invitational, which is not what he does very often. So I think this is a really good spot for him. This is a course where he does have some good finishes. He plays it pretty much every year. The last 4 years, 8th, 13th, 35th, 19th. That's pretty promising, and I'm looking at a whole lot of green in the stat profile. So I really do think this is a great spot for Shane Lowry. I'm going to be all over Shane Lowry this week, and I'm happy that other people in the industry are not talking about him. Hideki Matsuyama comes in number 13. Look, I think TPC courses, difficult courses where the whole bag is used, yeah, that's Hideki's jam, right? The stat profile is not all that great, but in terms of a course fit, I think it's pretty good. And even though the stat profile, it's been a lot of red, it hasn't been super consistently green in every category. The finishes haven't been bad. So I really do think that this is not a bad spot for Hideki. He's another guy that I want to be on when nobody else is talking about him, and I think this is a spot where nobody else is talking about him. All right, so that does it for the model. If you would like to know who the final top 10 of that model is, head on over to the Patreon, patreon.com/Mike's Money Picks. Basically, was I not sharing my screen? I should have been sharing my screen. I'm hoping I was. Anyway, if you have not checked out the Patreon, you might want to do so. I write an article every single week where I profile my core plays in DFS as well as the top 10 from my final model, as well as a write up as to why they're my top 10 and why they're my core plays. If you are interested in that, go check it out. I'm also in the Fantasy Corner Discord. Link is in the description on YouTube as well as on the audio feed. If you would like to be a part of that community, I highly recommend it. It's very DFS oriented, however, though. All right, now let's go ahead and take a look at the board. So that way we can go ahead and see what we're looking at in terms of DFS and one and done. So for DFS this week, right? They went with a weird strategy DraftKings did to where we've got a 12.8K Scotty Scheffler, but we have a 5K range. And so what that's going to do is it's going to make it super easy to play Scotty Scheffler. And so Scheffler is going to be super popular, but what's going to be a popular build is like Scheffler and two 5K guys, or Scheffler and a 5K guy and like another guy at the top. Like, it really opened up your options by how they did the pricing this week. And know that this is a super volatile tournament. So if you have access to ownership projections and you play DFS, this would be a week to fade the chalk. This would be a week to play your own guys and have your own convictions instead of groupthink. Because if you fade a guy that's 25% and he misses the cut, you're going to instantly have a leg up on the rest of the field. All right, we've already talked about the top of the board. I don't think this is the best spot for Rory, but like, Rory McIlroy's career makes 0 sense. It just does. He randomly wins when you count him out. He folds when everything's shaping up for him to be the best in the world and to win. So I don't know what to make of Rory. I think if you are a DFS player, I think this is a good week to play Rory because Scotty's going to be super highly owned. Colin's going to be super highly owned. JT's going to be super highly owned. So I think that Rory is going to be naturally squeezed. And so I think this would be a good week to play him in DFS. But in terms of on paper, the course fit, yes, he's won here, but I just don't trust his recent approach play. I just don't. Sorry. I just don't think it's the best fit for him. Now, heading further down the board, we've already talked about a lot of these golfers near the top. We talked about Sepp Straka in the 8K range, but I do want to call out Tom Kim in the 8K range. So Tom Kim is a guy that we've generally been pretty high on for his entire career, right? And the reason why is because Tom Kim is generally a pretty good approach player, right? And that's the skill that's going to come in handy here. Now, he was awful at the Arnold Palmer Invitational, but the one category he was green in, approach play. He's been pretty good in approach this entire calendar year. If you're really an approach truther like I am, I think this is a pretty good spot for Tom Kim. He has also won at the Wyndham Championship, which is one of my comp courses. So I do think that this is a pretty natural spot for Tom Kim, and I do like him. Now, in the 7K range, we talked about Brian Harman already. I am going to go ahead and call out Thomas Dietrich. Y'all know I'm a sucker for Thomas Dietrich. I play him all the time in DFS. He broke my heart with a missed cut at the Arnold Palmer Invitational. Basically, he dunked a water ball on the last hole, and that caused him to single-handedly miss the cut. What I really like about Dietrich, though, is one of the best comp courses this place is TPC Scottsdale. He gained 2 strokes putting on that grass type there. He gained 1.76 strokes on approach there at a course that is going to ask you to hit every club in the bag. The 2 events since then have not been great, but if he's able to kind of recapture the magic he had at TPC Scottsdale, which is a course that a lot of players who've had success at this event have also won at, then I think that that's a really good spot for Thomas Dietrich. He's going to be a guy that I'm going to go back to again and again this week. Now, Aaron Rai is also a guy in the 7K range that I love. Like, I just think that this is a great spot for him. He's won at one of my comp courses at Sedgefield. I played him a lot at the Arnold Palmer Invitational. He was a core play, T11. You look at the approach play, it's just been great. And like I said, if you're an approach play truther, you want to play Aaron Rai. He's a guy that keeps it accurate, keeps it safe off the tee, and he has the ability to separate this tournament with his approach play. Love Aaron Rai this week. Now, when you start looking at some of these value plays, a guy that I'm a little bit interested in the 6K range is Nick Dunlap. So Nick Dunlap, for whatever reason, tends to play well at the same golf course as Scotty Scheffler plays well at. At courses where it's very straightforward, hit it here, don't hit it here, hit it there, don't hit it there, Nick Dunlap tends to play pretty good at him, right? And Nick Dunlap's approach play, the rest of his game has not been good, but his approach play has. I think you could see a made cut and you could see a good finish out of Nick Dunlap this week. He did play here last year, I believe. Yeah, he missed the cut, but it's not a super bad profile. He didn't miss the cut by a lot, but yeah, I don't know. If you trust the talent, which I do, and you trust the courses he's played well at in his career, which I do, Nick Dunlap at 6,400 is very interesting. I also think that Justin Rose at 6,300 is very interesting. So Justin Rose kind of came out of nowhere to have a really good performance at Bay Hill, T8 in that tournament. He was T3 at Pebble a few weeks back. Those two really good finishes in really good fields give me hope that Justin Rose can still like bring that magic back one more time at a course that does not prioritize distance, which he doesn't have as much of anymore. And this is a course that he has plenty of experience at. So Justin Rose, 6,300 is a guy that's going to be making my player pool in DFS. Now, let me tell you, DFS chalk this week. Michael Kim is probably going to be the second most highly owned golfer outside of Scotty Scheffler. And the reason why is because he's, quite frankly, playing the best golf of anybody on the PGA Tour. From the Waste Management Phoenix Open on, he's played every week. T2, T13, T13, T6, fourth place, has not lost strokes in any category in any of those 5 tournaments. That's insanely impressive. And the question is he going to keep it going or is he going to fall back to earth? I will let in DFS. I think Michael Kim's a really good top 20 bet, but I think that in DFS I will let others chase that profile because it's a great profile, but it's not what he's done over the course of his career. So I will let others chase, and I will kind of let off of him a little bit this week. And I do think that this is a natural letdown spot, and I think we could go back to him near the end of the season if he's able to kind of get going again. Now, the 5K golfer that I like, we already mentioned Doug Gim. I like Nicolai Højgaard. So this is a guy that has enough power off the tee that he could do the Bryson approach or the Rory approach, where he just comes in with a driving iron. Wyndham Clark did this last year too. Comes in with a driving iron, keeps it safe, keeps it dry, and still gives himself as much distance as the little guys with his driver, right? But what I really like about Nicolai is the recent finishes this calendar year: T36, 8th, 18th. Gained on approach, about a stroke per round every single time. That's a really good profile. We know he's a good off the tee player. He hasn't really showed it, but he is a good off the tee player. I think this is a good spot for him. I think $5,700 is way too cheap for a guy of his price tag. I mean, he's priced around Bud Cauley and Mark Hubbard. Like, I think this is a really good price tag for Nicolai Højgaard. He's a guy that I'm willing to go back to again this week. Victor Perez is another guy that tends to play well at like water heavy courses. He's played here one time and it was T9. I really liked him at the Olympics, which I thought was a great comp to this one. He's 5,600. I think he's fairly interesting. If you're looking to really throw some darts, there's 4 more I'm going to mention. Andrew Putnam, great approach player, good long-term around the green player, recent form, not bad. Seamus Power, recent form, not good, but another long-term, really good approach player, solid around the green player. These are accuracy-based golfers that are going to keep their golf ball dry. Neither have particularly good history here, but hey, there's a first time for everything. Sam Ryder is like the king of Florida and the king of the overseed. His recent form is but his finishes here been pretty good. Last 2 years, 16th and 44th. I'd take that for a guy that's $5,400 on DraftKings. And then the last guy that I'll mention is Jacob Bridgman. So his profile is like really interesting. It's a lot of chipping and putting, but like the finishes have been really good. And I think that at a certain point, you got to acknowledge, like, hey, maybe he's just that guy that is going to chip and putt his way to the top of a leaderboard. And this is a course where if he's able to keep it dry off the tee, keep it in play on approach, I do think he could chip and putt his way to a lot of pars and be near the top of the leaderboard here. So T15 and T2 in his last 2 events, both in the Florida swing. I think that he is well worth a look in DFS at 5,300. But y'all, as I mentioned before, this is a course where major champions win. I'm not very much interested in betting a long shot unless I'm attaching an each way bet onto it this week. All right, last thing we're going to talk about here is one and done. So one and done is one of my favorite formats of fantasy golf, first off. But it's really interesting this week because the purse is as big as it will be for any golf tournament all season long here at the Players' Championship. So this is a week where you want to get right. Like, if you've kind of floundered in one and done so far, if you haven't picked a winner, I haven't, then this will be a great week to do it because you can find yourself with a lot of money in one and done, and you could be set and put yourself as a front runner for the rest of the season. So the question becomes, is this the week you play Scotty? Well, I think if you're already near the top of a leaderboard, I think it's a really good idea to play Scotty because there's a chance that even if he doesn't win, which, like I've said, I think it's highly unlikely that he wins 3 in a row. But yet he's still by far the best golfer in this field, best course fit for this field. I think it's a good week to play him in one and done, but I don't know. I kind of rather play him down the road when less people have him. And I do think that it's tricky to win a tournament 3 times in a row. So I think if you're front running already, I think Scotty is a really good choice. If you're chasing like me, my preliminary pick of Hideki, I actually really like. If we're looking at the odds this week and just who we should pick, obviously, Scheffler's the favorite. Rory's second. I think this is a really good Colin course too. Even though he doesn't have great history here, it's a really good JT course, and he does have the win here. But I think they're really contrarian play this week, and the guy that I'm probably going to go with in some of them is Xander Schauffele. Like we said, not the best finish last week at the Arnold Palmer Invitational, but he struck the ball well. He's been really good at this course without a win. I really like Xander as a one and done play this week. I really do. I also really like Fleetwood as a one and done play this week. I like Lowry as a one and done play this week. That's probably as far down the board as I would go. I also think this is a really interesting week for Jordan Spieth. I neglected to mention him earlier, but this is like a put up or shut up week for Jordan Spieth, where he didn't get the sponsors exemption into the API. You want to show people that you deserve to be in that field, go be vintage Jordan Spieth here at the Players on one of the biggest stages in all golf. And I think that would be a really cool story if he did play well. I think he's really interesting this week. I probably wouldn't play him in one and done. I think that's a little deep. But yeah, if you're front running, Scotty. If not, I think that JT, Colin, Xander, Hideki all make a lot of sense. Looking at this one and done that I'm picking, in the one that I've been picking on the show, I don't have a whole lot of those guys near the top. But I do think so. Let me go ahead and think. I'm going to go ahead and play Xander for that one. Why not? So I'm going to go ahead and play Xander in that one and done. The other one, I do think I'm probably going to go with Hideki. But yeah, I definitely can change the one and done strategy before we go. Remember, I am chasing, so I am going to need to find somebody to get me some money here this week. But all right, y'all, that is going to do it for the Players Championship preview. We went over our time limit of 30 minutes, but that's okay. It's a great golf tournament. It's a big one, so I don't mind going over for that. Hopefully, we gave you guys all the information you need in order to find some winners in DFS, betting, player props, and one and done this week. If this video helps you anyway, please hit the like button and make sure you're subscribed to the channel so that way you can be with us the rest of the PGA Tour season as well as the rest of college basketball season. And if you're new this week, or if you're not new this week, if you've been here for a while, spread the word, tell a friend, because this is a big week for golf, and this is a week where a lot of eyes end up on this golf video. And so I will happily welcome any new eyes, any new subscribers as we close in on the race to 1,000. But that's going to do it here for this week, y'all. We will be back next week. So what we're going to do next week is the start of the NCAA basketball tournament, aka March Madness. The bracket is released Sunday night. So we're probably going to have our bracket breakdown show on Monday. So what we're probably going to do is we're probably going to record our episode for the Valspar Championship on that Sunday night, the night of Selection Sunday. So that way I can go ahead and do the golf preview and then carry on with the bracket breakdown and everything for the rest of the week in college basketball after that. But what that does mean is we're probably going to be doing it without DraftKings pricing. So it'll be a little bit of an interesting show, but I do hope you guys come out to that because we will be having it. So just so you know that the calendar might be a little bit different next week. But anyway, that's going to do it for this episode, y'all. Best of luck to y'all with the Players Champion this week, whether you're playing DFS, betting one and done. Hopefully we helped you out a little bit. Best of luck to you guys with whatever action you got. Enjoy this golf tournament. It is a great one. And thank you guys for watching and listening to this point, and I will see you guys next time.